My opinion, it's not like records, it's not like age. My opinion, it's I go to the gym and I told you, the all kids want to show something to me.
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev has revealed important details about his retirement plans, leaving fans eagerly wondering how his future will unfold ahead of the high-stakes showdown with Arman Tsarukyan. However, Michael Bisping shared his opinion that Islam Makhachev has the potential to establish himself as the greatest lightweight fighter in UFC history. Bisping backed his claim by highlighting that previous champions in the lightweight division typically defended their titles 3 times before stepping away. If Islam manages to defend his belt against Arman Tsarukyan, it would be his 4th successful defense, surpassing this significant benchmark. Bisping stressed that achieving this milestone would greatly strengthen Islam's place in both the lightweight division and the sport's history, calling it a clear reflection of his dominance and skill.
Islam Makhachev going on to become the greatest lightweight fighter of all time. And that would be a fact according to the numbers. Of course, Islam Makhachev has defended the belt 3 times. So did Khabib Nurmagomedov, so did BJ Penn, so did Benson Henderson. 3 title defenses, that is the max. If Islam goes out there and beats Arman Tsarukyan, which Arman might think he will, just judging by what he said on his YouTube video, that will be 4 defenses, and he will be the greatest lightweight on planet Earth in the history of the sport.
Randy Couture expressed that Islam Makhachev is in peak form, urging anyone stepping into the cage with him to come fully prepared. He praised Islam for operating at his highest level, firing on all cylinders, and being at the top of his game. Couture highlighted the importance of Islam facing tough competitors, seeing it as a true test of his skills. He added that it will be fascinating to see which fighter can dominate and impose their will, as that will ultimately determine the outcome.
Well, I mean, Islam is at the top of his game right now, so you better strap him on tight if you're stepping in with him right now. He's literally firing on all cylinders and at his peak right now. So I'm glad he's getting tough fights like that. That's going to be a real test, and it'll be interesting to see who goes out and imposes their will, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Mark Coleman, on the other hand, shared his admiration for Islam Makhachev's fighting style and confidently picked him to win. Coleman believes Islam is rapidly approaching the conversation of being the greatest of all time, GOAT, and will certainly be a part of it if he continues his momentum. He described Islam as fantastic and amazing, noting the similarities in his style to that of Khabib Nurmagomedov, and praised his potential for greatness.
Yeah, I love that one as well. I'm going to go with Islam. You know, he's right up there in the GOAT conversation. Pretty soon he'll be there if he keeps plugging away. But he's just fantastic, amazing. Reminds me a lot of Khabib.
However, during the podcast with Demetrius Johnson, Islam Makhachev shared that his first sport was combat sambo, which he trained in during his time in Russia. He explained that combat sambo was a highly competitive and physically demanding discipline, requiring frequent fighting, and credited it with building his foundational skills and toughness, key elements of his success in MMA. When asked about the difference between regular sambo and combat sambo, Islam clarified that the main distinction is the inclusion of punches in combat sambo. However, he emphasized that striking only counts if it results in a knockout, with punches not contributing to scoring otherwise.
It's really hard sport, you know, because some of the day you can make 7 fights.
You have 7 fights in one day.
Yes.
So it's a tournament.
Yeah, tournament, like Russian championship, it's a lot, you know, maybe 50 people in your weight division.
Yeah.
And you have to fight all day.
Demetrius Johnson pointed out that Islam Makhachev had seen fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov and himself retire at the peak of their careers, and asked when Islam planned to retire. In response, Islam explained that for him, retirement isn't about breaking records or reaching a certain age. Instead, he believes the decision to retire will come when he no longer has the strength or ability to train and keep up with younger fighters in the gym. He stated that it's not yet the time to discuss retirement, as he still feels capable of achieving more in his career.
My opinion, it's not like records, it's not like age. My opinion, it's I go to the gym and I told you, the all kids want to show something to me.
Yeah.
And when I understand I cannot stop the people, I cannot like compete with the
younger guys.
young guys, and I'm thinking about it. But right now it's not time to talk about this, because I know I can do more and I improve all my fights.
However, Islam acknowledged that the upcoming match against Arman Tsarukyan won't be easy. Tsarukyan, currently the #1 contender, is expected to challenge him and push him to work harder. Islam recognized Tsarukyan's strong wrestling skills and anticipated that the fight would involve both wrestling and striking. He believes this matchup will be an exciting one for MMA fans, as it will feature a showdown between the reigning champion and the top contender.
This time, it's not gonna be easy match for sure, because he's a #1 right now. He's a guy who make me work more hard because he's a real contender. He have good wrestling. We're gonna wrestle. We're gonna strike. It's gonna be a very good match for the MMA fans, you know, because now it's a champion versus like #1 contender.
Ode Osborne, on the other hand, admitted that his prediction might be influenced by his friendship with Arman Tsarukyan. He praised Arman's exciting and intense fighting style, calling him a dog in the cage. Ode believes the sport needs fresh faces, which is why he's backing Arman for the win.
You know, it's going to be a biased prediction because Arman is a friend of mine. I do love how he fights. So I'm going to say Arman. I love how Arman fights. It's super exciting all the time, and he's a dog. You know, and I think we need to see some new faces, so Arman.
Joe Rogan highlighted that fighters like Islam Makhachev are truly versatile, able to do everything in the octagon. He pointed out how intimidating Islam is both standing and on the ground, referencing his knockout power and his ability to submit top-tier fighters. Rogan emphasized how Islam can knock someone out with a single shot, like he did with Gleison Tibau, yet still be dangerous in striking exchanges. He noted that Islam's combination of skills, from powerful strikes to submission ability, makes him a complete and well-rounded fighter, capable of dominating in Eve.
You got guys like Islam that could do everything. Islam is scary standing up. When you KO Volkanovski like that, and then you choke out Dustin Poirier like that guy can head kick you, he can strike with you, he knocked out Gleison Tibau with one shot standing, and he can still strangle you, and he can still smother you. Like, it's the perfect combination.
Colby Covington shared his belief that Arman Tsarukyan has what it takes to secure the victory. He highlighted Arman's athleticism and flexibility, particularly impressed by how he escaped Charles Oliveira's choke. Colby praised Arman's aggression and resilience, pointing out how he dug deep during that challenging moment. He also mentioned that Arman's strong coaching staff adds to his confidence in him, believing that Arman's power in his hands could potentially lead to a knockout against Islam Makhachev if he trusts his striking.
I do think he can get it done. I think he's an athlete. Look how flexible he is. Look how he got out of that choke with Charles. That was impressive, man. He dug deep for that. And, you know, he's got a better coach. You know, he's got a great coach. So, you know, I believe in Arman. He's an athlete. He's got big power in his hands. You know, if he believes in those hands, I think he could knock out Makhachev.
Bilal Muhammad expressed that Islam Makhachev is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He believes the upcoming rematch with Arman Tsarukyan will be different from their first encounter, with Islam showcasing that there are levels to the game. While acknowledging Arman's talent, Bilal feels that Islam has evolved significantly and is now operating on a completely different level.
Islam and Arman, I got Islam. Islam, I think, is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and I think it's going to be kind of like the same. It's not going to be the same thing as the first fight, because that first fight was very close. I think Islam's going to show that there's levels to this, and I think he's grown way more than Arman. Arman's great, but I think Islam is at another level.
Daniel Cormier said that the first fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan was a tougher challenge for Islam at the time. Even though Islam won convincingly with scorecards of 30-27 and 29-28, people often expect him to dominate so much that any fight where he is challenged feels like a loss. Cormier pointed out that Islam has been on a crazy streak, finishing top fighters like Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski twice, and Dustin Poirier in his last 4 fights, showcasing his incredible dominance in the lightweight division.
So for me, I like the fight because it represented a tougher challenge for Islam at the time when they fought.
Yeah.
Granted, on 2 fight cards, Islam won 30-27. On 1, it was 29-28. I believe that Makhachev falls victim to expectation. He's been so dominant that if you are able to compete with him in any way, it seems as though you did better. Bro, he shut Dustin out and submitted him. And the story was Dustin Poirier. I mean, this guy, Islam, has finished Charles, finished Volk twice, and then just finished Dustin Poirier in his last 4 fights. That is a crazy number.
Cormier further said that Arman Tsarukyan has improved since their first fight and is confident he can beat Islam Makhachev with a full training camp. Cormier believes they are the 2 best lightweights in the world and that this rematch is crucial. While Islam has been dominant, Cormier thinks this is his biggest challenge yet. However, Arman still needs to prove he can defeat Islam, even though he didn't have a full camp the first time. Despite the circumstances, Arman was still beaten.
But when you think about Arman Tsarukyan, he has constantly improved, and he has said since the first time they fought, the moment he got another opportunity, he was going to beat Makhachev because they didn't have a training camp to do that. I think these are the two best lightweights in the world. I've watched these guys time and time again separate themselves. And when you separate yourselves, you have to find that equal. You just generally don't get it when two guys are kind of running parallel to each other. Makhachev has looked amazing, but I do believe this is the biggest and best fight for him, unless he was doing something different in another weight class. But when Arman Tsarukyan has to still go and beat a guy that beat him last time, right? I know he wasn't 100%. I know he didn't have a full camp.
Brendan Schaub stated that Islam Makhachev is not his pound-for-pound number one, citing the weaker strength of schedule of the top 5 fighters. He clarified that he's not hating on Islam, but believes there's still a lot for him to prove in the lightweight division. Schaub emphasized that Islam should focus on lightweight before considering a jump to welterweight, as he has plenty of work left to do at 155 pounds.
Now, when it comes to pound for pound in your division, I look at strength of schedule. I look at who have you beat, how have you beat them. Islam's strength of schedule, when we're talking about, if you look at the pound for pound list, the top 5, has by far the easiest strength of schedule. He's not my pound for pound number one. I'll be very clear. Not my king, not bend the knee, dude. Refute, cut my head off. Cut my head off. Not hating on Islam. I know you guys are going to run with that. I'm not doing that. I'm not hating on him. There's nothing he can do about it. It's not his fault. He fights whoever's in front of him. But for his management, whoever's telling this, dude, let's jump to 70. Buddy, you have so much work to do at 55. You have a lot to do at 55 before we bend the knee.
Additionally, Schaub expressed that after watching Arman Tsarukyan's recent performances, he would favor Arman in a rematch. He believes Tsarukyan's growth and improvements make him a strong contender against Islam, even though Islam has been dominant.
And Arman's going to give you a fight. And I would favor Arman after watching his last 3 or 4 performances. I would favor Arman.
Beneil Dariush shared his thoughts, stating that he believes Islam Makhachev will win the rematch. He acknowledged that Islam tends to slow down in his fights, a well-known fact, but noted that Arman Tsarukyan slowed down even more in their first encounter. Dariush pointed out that this gives Islam a significant advantage. He also mentioned that if Arman were to win, he would likely need to do so early in the fight, as Dariush doesn't see him winning a 5-round battle against Makhachev. While he recognizes Arman's potential, Dariush gives Makhachev a 60-40 edge in the fight.
I think Islam's going to win, and the reason why I think that is because, Islam slows down in his fights. What I'm saying is nothing new. Everybody knows that. But when they fought, Arman actually slowed down more than Islam. So I think that tells you that that's a big advantage. Because in my opinion, if Arman wins, he would have to win early against Makhachev. I don't see him winning a 5-round fight against Makhachev personally, but I could be wrong. But I do think Arman has the ability to win. If I had to put a number on it, I would say it's like 60-40, and I'm leaning towards Makhachev.
Dominic Cruz expressed that he likes the matchup because both Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan have looked impressive, and he believes they are a perfect style match for each other. He praised the matchmakers for choosing this fight, saying they always aim to create the toughest challenge for the champion, looking for the matchup that presents the greatest difficulty for the title holder.
I just like it because Tsarukyan has looked so good and Makhachev has looked so good, but I think they're the perfect style matchup. The matchmakers know what they're doing. When you look at, they try to find the matchup that makes the worst sense for the champion. Like, what can beat them?
Cruz further explained that Arman Tsarukyan presents the toughest style challenge for Islam Makhachev, as he can match him in grappling, wrestling, and takedowns. Cruz suggested that the fight might even turn into a stand-up battle, despite both fighters generally preferring grappling. He questioned whether this would cancel out their strengths, or if one fighter's superior wrestling and jiu-jitsu combination would prevail, ultimately calling the fight a win-win scenario either way.
It's the toughest style. He can match the grappling, he can match the wrestling, he can match the takedowns. And now you're forced, maybe you're going to see a stand-up fight out of 2 guys who don't like to stand up. Does it cancel out? Or do you see one of the greatest combination of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, sambo essentially, mixed together all in one, and you see that? Like, Either way, it's a win-win.
Jamal Hill talked about the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, mentioning that Tsarukyan has been looking strong and working hard, making it an interesting match that could go either way. Still, Hill believes Islam should be the favorite, stating that Makhachev is currently the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. Hill emphasized that Makhachev's great performances have left no doubt about his abilities, and he fully supports Islam being favored in the fight.
I've seen Islam. He's been out here the last couple of days. He looks big, he looks strong, he's been working. But Arman's been putting together. I believe it's an interesting fight. It can go either way, you know, and I just can't wait to see it.
Islam's the favorite. Do you think he should be the favorite in the fight?
Yes, 100% he should be the favorite. He's a pound-for-pound best fighter in the world right now, and his performances have left not much room to doubt him, you know, so yeah, he should be the favorite, but at the end of the day, it's a fight.
Terrence McKinney said that while he respects Arman Tsarukyan's striking skills, he believes Islam Makhachev will win due to his size advantage. McKinney feels Makhachev's height and strength will help him control most scrambles, and over 5 rounds, he believes Islam's physicality will be too much for Arman. He acknowledged that this could be Makhachev's toughest title defense, but still expects Islam to prove why he's still the champion.
I like what Arman brings as threat on the feet. But I think Islam will, just because of his height, will be able to win most of the scrambles. I think he was a bigger person just in general. And I think 5 rounds dealing with a person with that much muscle, I think Islam shows why he's champ still. But this will probably be his toughest title fight.
Michael Chandler spoke about the first fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, saying it was a close and exciting battle in many people's eyes, though he admitted he hadn't watched it himself. Chandler praised Tsarukyan's impressive win over Charles Oliveira and his continued rise in the lightweight division. However, he was confident that Islam Makhachev would keep his title, pointing to Islam's dominance and recent performances. He highlighted Makhachev's improving skills, especially his striking and amazing grappling, which make him the best lightweight in the world.
I think if you look at history and their first fight together, obviously it was a barn burner. It was pretty close in a lot of people's eyes. I don't know if I've actually watched that fight. I've just heard from people that it was close. But you know, Arman obviously beat Oliveira last fight. Arman has been charging forward. I think right now I will be surprised if Arman pulls it off. I think Islam has continued to solidify himself as the best lightweight in the world by far with his performances. And I have no problem saying that. His hands are getting better. He just outstruck Poirier. He can outgrapple anybody.
Chandler also admired the deeper reason behind Makhachev's fighting spirit. He pointed out that Islam isn't just fighting for the championship and awards, but for something bigger representing his village, country, religion, and honoring the legacies of Khabib Nurmagomedov and his father. Chandler feels this adds a powerful emotional side to Islam's journey, making his story special.
And I think he truly is doing it for more than just the punches, kicks, knees, and elbows and being the UFC champ and the glitz and glam. He's got something deeper that he's fighting for. He's fighting for an entire village, an entire portion of the country, an entire religion, and an entire legacy for himself and also Khabib and Khabib's father. So it's something special. It's a beautiful story, and I think Islam's going to get his hand raised. And I think it's once again the perfect story that for me to avenge the loss against Oliveira and then fight a guy who's even more highly regarded than Charles Oliveira, and that's Islam Makhachev.
Drakkar Klose shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, noting Makhachev's size and strength, which he believes give Islam the edge to win. However, Klose said he hopes Arman will pull off an upset, as he likes seeing new names challenge the top of the division. He added that it would be exciting to see fresh faces moving up the rankings and taking on established fighters. Even though he supports Tsarukyan, Klose admitted that it would be a tough challenge for Arman, given Islam's dominance and skill set.
Islam's a big guy. I think Islam was going to win it, you know what I mean? But I hope Arman wins, you know what I mean? I like to see change in the top, you know, move those numbers around and, you know, get some guys out. So hopefully Arman pulls it off, but I think it's going to be a tough task for him.
Brandon Gibson believes Islam Makhachev is the rightful favorite, citing his championship experience, particularly in his fight with Charles Oliveira, where Islam displayed resilience and strength despite facing challenges. Gibson feels Islam is continuing to grow as a champion and anticipates that he will dominate in the rematch with Arman Tsarukyan, relying on his grappling skills once again. He does not expect the fight to be as close as their first encounter, confident that Islam will assert his superiority.
I think Islam is rightfully the favorite. He's racking up that championship experience. In the bout with Poirier showed his championship character, like being able to really dig down deep in those later rounds, despite the cut, despite being wobbled. I think Islam's really growing as a champion, and I think we won't see such a close rematch between those two. I think Islam shows domination and showcases his grappling once again.
Austin Bashi shared that he is picking Arman Tsarukyan to win the rematch, recalling how Tsarukyan gave Islam Makhachev a tough challenge in their first fight, despite being only 22 years old at the time. Bashi believes that this time, Arman has a real chance to secure the victory.
I got Arman actually in that one. The first time they fought, Arman, I believe, was like only 22 years old and gave him a real good run. But this time around, I think he could pull it out.
So what are your thoughts on this? Who do you think will come out on top? Share your thoughts in the comment section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.